Hello, football family. Welcome into Huddle It Up Films. Fired up. Big week this week. Steelers coming to town. 4:30, I believe the start time is. Man, just really excited about this show. So much to get into. So I'm going to cut the intro short. Got my guy Yuri back, and I wanted to just ask him. He's finally back home. Yuri, how are you doing? And is there anything that you want to just share with us about your experience being home, whatever it is? But I just wanted to give you a chance to speak before we get into this game.
Yeah, so it's good to be home. Spent 2 months in Texas and then 4 months in California, out there doing my thing, or doing what they want me to do, so to say. But yeah, it was great. I mean, California's great weather. It was never below like during the day. During the day. It was never below 50. Good weather. Went to a Chargers game out there. Got to see the Greg Roman show and what they had going on, and I thought that was interesting just to be on the other side of it. I've never been to a game where I wasn't a fan of a team, and I'm like a pseudo Chargers fan. I like Herbert. I like Johnson. I like some of the things that they do. But other than that, beautiful state, the water, Pacific Ocean, the mountains they had out there. It was great. Very, very thankful, and I feel like I learned a lot about myself out there. And yeah, happy to be home. Happy to be talking Ravens again consistently. Happy to go into the game Saturday as well. So I'm pumped up. Pumped up to talk
Okay,
some ball.
great. You got some tickets. Is the water warm out there all the time, like when you were
For
there?
for the most part, yeah, I would say so.
Nice. Yeah, it's different here, as you know, guys. Locally at the beach, it could be June, and that water is still like cold from the wintertime, spring.
Yeah.
So yeah, hey, I want to check in. My guy Stacy, did you make that beat? It's your trademark. Actually, the man who made the beat, did the primary work on it, is the Cosmonaut Project with the Steelers Suck checking in. So yeah, me and Cosmo, longtime friends. All the music that you hear on the channel is from me and him, and I did get some beats from my buddy Knox. So we'll see if Mister Ivan Evans checks in, but he actually also helped me with the beats. But if you guys know anybody with beats that aren't on YouTube, can't get copyrighted, send them to me. Send them to me, man. I'm always looking for new beats that fit the music, just instrumentals. So yeah, appreciate Stacy, Cosmo for being in here, and everybody else. Please check in. So Yuri, let's get right into it, man. Just a basic overview. I just wanted to put it in a graphic that was easy to understand for everybody. The race for the AFC North. You see the Ravens 9-5, 2-2 in the division. Steelers 10-4, 3-1 in the division. So if the Ravens win this week, both teams would be 10-5, and both teams would be 3-2. But as we outlined on the bye week special, the Ravens would still need help. Like tying the Steelers, beating the Steelers this week is not enough. They would still need the Steelers to lose one more game. And there's some weird scenarios in there, but if the Ravens win out, the Steelers still need to win or need to lose to either Kansas City or Cincinnati at home. They definitely have the tougher schedule, Yuri. But looking at it like this, anything can happen. If the Ravens lose this week, Yuri, the Ravens are eliminated from the division title. Probably still going to make the playoffs, though. Your thoughts on the coming down, because I missed you on the bye week special. Ken said that we had about a 1-3 chance, and that was before the Steelers beat the Browns and lost to the Eagles. So I'm not sure where our division hopes lie now, but what are your thoughts on capturing the division here? What kind of odds you put on it?
I would, well, odds probably like plus 300, something like that, like 3-1. I think the same thing is 33%. Unlikely, but you can't lose at home. Especially for them to win the division in Baltimore. I think that would be pretty disgraceful. And then Kansas City and Cincinnati, those both look like home games for them. So you know, you got to hope that one, Mahomes is healthy, and that ankle injury he had is just another one of his many looking bad injuries, but end up being nothing that he has throughout his career, which is so wild. Cincinnati, could play big spoiler, especially if they win out and the playoff. There is still a chance actually for Cincinnati to make the playoffs. You're gonna need a lot to go their way with the Colts and the Chargers and the Broncos, but that game week 18 could mean a lot for us against Cleveland, and then especially them versus the Bengals. So we'll see. I'm still holding out hope. This team really is way too good to be having 5 losses at this point. But I do hope that we can have some things go in our favor here at the end of the season.
Agreed. And I want to get Don C up in here. Don C, good to see you, Don. Appreciate you. Welcome home to Yuri. Yeah, and Merry Christmas to you, Don. Happy holidays to everybody out there. New Year coming up. Just good to see you in here. Now, Yuri, to me, I've heard people, some of my friends, downplay the division title, saying, "Look, if you get in, that's all that matters. You get in playing well, that's all that matters." But I see you shaking your head. I'm kind of with you. I'm guessing having that first game at home, first and foremost, and not having to go on the road 3 times in the playoffs. It's hard to win 3 road games in the regular season. Nonetheless, do it in the playoffs against the best teams in the AFC. So I really want this home game. I want it for the fans. I want it for the lack of travel. And, bragging rights aside, I just feel like, this game aside, it would be great to not only beat the Steelers, which would have to happen, but also have that home playoff game.
Right, and that home playoff game does mean a lot. I mean, it does a lot for your city. It does a lot for the fan base, and it would be unfortunate if the Ravens had a decent chance at this, and that say for some reason we were to lose here Saturday, and then Pittsburgh went on to lose one of these other games. We'd be like, man, like there goes an opportunity. So I think it's important to what you pointed out, having a home playoff game. Then to go on the road only twice is a lot better than having to go on the road 3 times and go from, let's say, Buffalo to Kansas City to, you know what I mean, just to travel around the country. I think that if you can get that first road home game, especially because you're not going anywhere because Cleveland's Week 18. So I think it'd mean a lot.
Yeah, I mean, and we've been home for pretty much a while. The trip to New York is a train ride. It's a little bit different than getting on a plane. So you're looking at the Philadelphia game, the bye week, the train ride. Now we're home again this week. One trip to Houston would be all the travel, and basically in December and the second half of the home stretch of the season. But yeah, I wanted to put this up. The Steelers, by the way, they had their bye week in week 9. That's what you made me think about it. So, the Ravens bye week coming in week 14 is a good stretch. Now, of course, Pittsburgh, Kansas City, Houston, and us, we're all playing this crazy, 3 games in 11 days. But us in Houston had that bye week in week 14. So that's got to give us a little bit of edge heading into this stretch. The Steelers, the last time we played them, they were 2 weeks removed from a bye week. And, you can see their losses there. And this is why that third tiebreaker of common games doesn't go our way. One of their losses came to Indianapolis, which is a non-common opponent. So if you just want to do the reverse math, record versus common opponents, do the reverse math in non-common opponents. We have an edge in non-common. So, of course, they're up in common games. So that's pretty much what it comes to. But much like the Ravens season, a lot of wins there for the Steelers, bye week in week 9. Yuri, I think it's important not to gloss over what Lamar Jackson is doing right here. I think that as Ravens fans, we get spoiled too, and we get fatigued just of watching him play. But you watch these other games, Yuri, and you watch like the Monday night games were brutal. And there was only one team, basically. Minnesota Vikings had a good squad in the groove, but the other 3 teams that were playing that night, it's like they might as well just pack up the season. I mean, the quarterback play is terrible. The offensive schemes, there's just not much they can do. The defense is bad. They're beat up. And meanwhile, we're watching this guy every Sunday. And again, what he's doing is special. And I think even as Ravens fans, it's human nature to become numb to it, bro. This past Sunday, his 5th game with 5 touchdown passes and 5 or fewer incompletions. No other player in NFL history has more than 3. He has 5. And he's 28 years old, something like that, in his 7th season. So Lamar Jackson, Yuri, the ultimate X factor of any game, and why I feel this team can go deep into the playoffs.
Right. And you pointed out, we have come a lot, really accustomed to Lamar Jackson and the way he plays and the amount of times that more often than not, he produces and he wins his football games. Speaking to the Monday night games, look, I have some faith that Penix may be able to lay the wood. But other than that, I think a lot of those teams were, to your point, just playing and probably should pack up the season. But yeah, Lamar Jackson, I went through the film versus the Giants, and you can just see he's thrown with anticipation. He's being able to extend plays, and the play to Bateman, the play to Aguilar over linebacker's head underneath the safety, the play to Andrews. There's like 4 guys around him, and then everyone's wants him to hit the check down, and he has to check down to Justice Hill, and Justice Hill takes it the rest of the way. So he's playing great. He's hitting things at all levels. Coming out of the bye week strong, and hopefully Saturday we can continue forward.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You mentioned the layered throws in between level 2 and level 3, and the pocket awareness. I mean, that's stuff that most other teams they don't have a player that can do that. They don't have a quarterback that can do that. We sit here and nitpick Lamar, and rightfully so. I mean, he's the most important player on the team. The quarterback is the most important player in sports. So, but yeah, what he's doing is just tremendous. Don C, thank you so much for the super chat in there. Andy Reid plays his guys in the preseason. Mahomes better play against Pittsburgh. I want that division. Us too, Don. Want that division. And Mahomes, you mentioned it, I think, in passing, Yuri. He's got a little bit of that Big Ben in him. Like, what was it, like a month ago? It looked like he had got hurt, a non-contact, and he's fine. Yeah. And then the high ankle sprain last year, and he's fine. And then this doesn't look good. He gets twisted up. But I have a feeling he'll be fine. Again, like it just kind of reminds me of the Ben Roethlisberger days where he was always questionable and you never knew, and they would overplay his injuries, and got a little bit of that, dare I say, drama king in him.
Yeah.
Pat Mahomes.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's, I guess there's some sort of advantage to it. Now, I was thinking about this to connect it to the game we're playing. Maybe there is some advantage to Tomlin, Pickens being on limited, and Watt being limited as well, or Pickens not practicing and Watt. I think there could be a little reverse. I know the Ravens like usually doing that, and our conversation here just kind of sparked me and made me think maybe one of those guys are playing, that even though the practice report may not say that.
Yeah, hey, we're going to prepare like they're going to play, especially on this show. I just, I think they're going to be limited, both of them, obviously. But if I had to guess, I would say they're play. Our guy John Parsons checking in as well. We aren't usually this healthy late in the season. Aguilar with the concussion, the only starter really. And you said it, John. We don't talk about injuries a ton on here to jinx it. We don't usually pump up how healthy we are, but we talked about it during the bye week, John. I think you were in there for that stream, and really, there's 2 players in particular that if the Ravens lost, we'd be in big trouble, both on the offensive side of the ball and the backfield. But this Ravens team is in good shape. It's one of the reasons, Yuri, I'm excited for the rest of the season, and I'm actually more optimistic than most fans that this team can finally eliminate these mistakes that are part of our identity. It's not a fluke, but that we can cut down on them. Defense can hold its own. And the man you see on the screen can have his the January that we've all been waiting for.
Yeah, I hope so. I really do. I mean, it's time, and I know Voss has been very bullish on the team despite its discrepancies. And hey, my own thing is win out and continue to get hot. I don't know if this is the same. And there's a lot of comparisons made to 2012. I don't think this is the same team where they can just turn it on. I think they might need a little bit of conduction to send them in the playoffs.
Maybe not. That's a decent talking point. I think winning out would be very big for this team and its confidence. You don't want to have another setback like that. And I think the Philly game was very humbling for the players, the coaches, everybody, but mostly not any one particular person, but just as a team, because it kind of erased all of that. Oh, well, we only lost because of this, the Steelers game. Well, we turned it over 3 times, missed 2 kicks. We were the better team. It eliminated all of that. There are excuses at this point because they're part of our identity. Even though that's true, it's a recurring theme in the Raiders game, all season long with the penalties. So I think the Eagles game could be the best thing to happen to us. Talked about confidence. Wanted to pull this up. Catch rates allowed, minimum 50 targets per next gen stats. Nate Wiggins, number 1 in the NFL. Kamari Lassiter, another rookie. Question to speed, but he's a heck of a ball player. Number 2, Derek Stingley with that big interception. Number 3, you see the list right there. The Steelers, Dante Jackson, who did not practice both practices so far this week. He's probably going to have to get some action in tomorrow. He's got a back injury also on this list. But Nate Wiggins, the reason we brought this up is Nate Wiggins. You see his confidence growing every week. There's a play that didn't see on TV that I called on the film, Yuri, where he wasn't targeted. He was guarding Malik Neighbors, and it was in the end zone, and it was kind of a little bit late, but not too late, and he just pushed him out of bounds, like to make sure he was ineligible to catch the ball, but just like extra physical with Malik Neighbors, extra confident. Future's bright for Nate Wiggins.
Yeah, and the biggest thing that excites me about him is that the fact that he is always in phase and he gets his head around. I think that's the biggest thing, as we've seen with another Ravens corner, always in phase, doesn't get his head around. But you have to be very excited on what he can bring over the next couple of weeks. You're going to, I guess, match up with whoever Pittsburgh puts out there if Pickens isn't out there. But you think about the Texans and Nico Collins, and you think about Cleveland and Jerry Jeudy and Elijah Moore and Cedric Tillman. And then you think about all those AFC teams in the playoffs with all the receivers that they're going to have. We need him. We need him to continue to play well. And, he's one thing that I definitely didn't question in college was his ability at the catch point to break up passes and be physical. And he's showing that. He's shown that quick translation, and glad to have him. Glad to have him on the team.
So, Yuri, I'm going to run this by you. See where you stand with this, but there's been a lot of talk, and I think our friend Sarah Ellison brought it up, and I've seen other people from the flock bring it up, that they would like to see Nate Wiggins travel and just travel with the best receiver and be that guy. And I have to push back. I don't think that they're going to do that this year, especially because, well, they asked Zach Gore about traveling today. One of the reporters did, and he was basically, shot it down, said we have to change our scheme and this, that, and the other, and we're going to play. We have confidence in all our guys. But think about what they ask the right corner, what the right cornerback is asked to do compared to the left corner. And, some people might miss this, but a lot of times your guy who's lined up on the right side of the defense is guarding the X receiver. And Yuri, what do we talk about in the draft with the qualities of the X receiver? A big, strong, physical guy who can win downfield, run routes, a lot of things. But I think with Nate, for him to get there to where he is that right cornerback, he needs to add play strength. Like, to me right now, he's more of a Marcus Peters style player than he is a Chris McAllister type player, say, or a Ladarius Webb, or somebody who can really hang, press, bump and run with those big guys, the X receivers, the top receivers in the game. And I don't think the Ravens are going to mess with it this year. I feel 100% they're just going to leave him on the left side, let him do his thing. But, I want to know if you agree with that. And then moving it on to the future, do you see him being a right cornerback, or is he just like, like a lineman who's a right tackle? Look, man, let him be a great right tackle. Don't move him to the left side and have him be an average left tackle. Same thing with Nate Wiggins. Do you leave him there long term, or can you see him growing into that lockdown travel corner or a right cornerback?
Yeah, I'm with you. I wouldn't change anything at this time. What's working is working on defense, and it took so long for the secondary to figure it out that I think at this point it's solidified. Would I ever see him being able to match up with the bigger X receivers? I mean, it depends. He's got to put on like play strength, as you pointed out. He's also got to be able to defend the run, because more times than not, you're running to where your strength and numbers are on offense. So yeah, I would definitely like to see him improve in those regards, and adding weight and being able to use that weight to be physical in the run, because he does get his head in there as a run defender. He's just like right. 175 pounds, and there's only so much you can do with that at the NFL level. But yeah, honestly, I'm more on the side of keep the good right tackle, keeping that right tackle. I've seen a lot of people also throw out a similar thing, is like, if Stanley would ever move on, put Rosengard back at left tackle. I'm like, he's pretty good at right tackle. Like, I'm fine with having a really good right tackle than to like have like a see what happens at left tackle type of thing. And then I'm a little how do you say it? When it comes to switching positions, switching sides, and all that stuff, I'm a little I'm like I'm a little hesitant on it.
Okay, well, hey, we can argue about Rosengarten in the offseason, because I'm actually on the other side of that. Like, I think that he's a natural athlete, natural feat. And I think Roger if Ronnie's gone, free agent after the season, that it would be time just to throw him out there at left tackle. He's played it before, and my major pushback on this, Yuri, is that Rosengarten is obviously a premier pass blocker is his skill, his pass blocking. He's not a people mover in the run game. So I kind of like him on the backside at left tackle, on the backside of the zone blocking, to the strong side. And we can get a mauler at right tackle, more of a mauler. Obviously, you got to pass protect. But we also get a lot of mush rush on that side, Yuri. Like, people don't want Lamar Jackson escaping past right tackle. So our right tackles aren't challenged a lot. So I feel like we can get away with a big body. But that's something that we can argue about this offseason and debate, because I think that there's merit in both of those philosophies. So here we go, Yuri. You see the red crosses by 3 players, all on the same side of the field. They generally line up there. Deshaun Elliott, Dante Jackson, TJ Watt. Watt did return to practice today in a limited fashion. Okay, so Watt returned to practice, but Elliott is still out. He's got a soft tissue injury. What is it, his hamstring or something, Yuri? And Dante Jackson has a back injury. Apologize for that. Hit the button by accident. But Yuri, take it away. Steelers banged up here, and this unit was on the field for about 2/3 of the game, 40 minutes against the Eagles, and really got their butts whipped and worn out against Philly. So it's a beat up unit, and a unit that had to play a lot on Sunday.
Right. So starting off with Watt, you would think he plays unless they have a setback, but they have Nick Herbig, to fill in, and obviously we've seen him over the past couple of weeks kind of ascend as a pass rusher and get a lot of praise and hype, and someone that could definitely, if Watt had a limited snap count, someone that could come in and play at a pretty high level. At cornerback, they seem a little more thin there. So Dante Jackson, as we just saw on the separation or catch target chart, whatever you put up with Wiggins, that he was there. You go, Dante Jackson's up there. So yeah, he's a good corner. Obviously, this year he's done a pretty good job, and him being out, it opens up a lot. We've talked about in the past where Flowers and Bateman and the Steelers running press man and how to get off on press man. Having him be out would be a huge relief, and then then that's where we start getting our isolations, and we can start really working the offense. And then Elliott as well. This game probably definitely means something to him, coming back to Baltimore and on all those things. So for him to be out, and we've seen in the past where Henry and himself have seen each other in the hole, and he's a hard hitter. He's a tone setter, and this game, as it always has been, is who can set the tone and who can be physical and who can swing, go punch for punch. And for either one of those three being out would be a huge blow. And we'll see.
Elliott, I think, played well in that first game against the Ravens. I think that what is helping Elliott, especially in that first game, is Andrews or whoever was lined up on that side was chipping at TJ Watt a lot. So it's hard to challenge the strong safety when you're chipping at the end before you chipping at the outside linebacker before you head out in your route. So Elliott was not tested a ton. Just some Ravens numbers from that first game: 3 turnovers. It was 2 fumbles and that interception that was ripped away from Justice Hill. Wasn't really Lamar's fault on that one, but Lamar 16 to 33, 207 with 1 touchdown and that pick. Isaiah Likely was our leading receiver, Yuri, and we called that out on the show. His matchup with Beanie Bishop, Likely had 4 catches, 5 targets, 4 catches for 75 yards. Beanie Bishop, Yuri, is the Ardarius Washington of the Pittsburgh Steelers, an undersized guy who just knows how to ball, has played really well, knows for the football. But against Likely, and when we line up Andrews in the slot, and even against your guy Devontae Walker, if he gets in there, you're talking about size and speed. The Ravens could give Beanie Bishop, and I look for us to challenge them in the slot this week.
Right, and to your point, we know that the Steelers defense definitely plays a lot off of how those linebackers flow and run defense. So if we can get a lot of movement all the motions and stuff. We've seen Likely get motioned, Flowers get motioned. And if we can get that slot cornerback Bishop moving and be able to kind of create some leverage in that area with Likely, with Flowers, I think the Ravens can certainly take advantage of that. And then the touch on the Tez Walker, got little pat in the back. North Carolina football's back. Bill Belichick. Tez Walker scores a touchdown last week. Dante Jackson's the fastest guy they have at cornerback. So if he was out, I don't know. Porter's long and strong, and I don't think Walker would ever probably see that matchup with him. But if Walker gets a matchup with Pierre and Aguilar's out, I mean, I feel pretty confident in that he could probably run by him.
So a couple of things. I wanted to not forget to mention that Saul on Sunday Night Football, the Steelers are 1-10 all time without T.J. Watt. The T.J. Watt not in the lineup. Steelers 1-10 all time. You talk about a competitive football team week in and week out. Pittsburgh is plus 18. They lead the league in turnover ratio. They have 30 takeaways, which is first in the league. They have 3 takeaways in seven separate games. So 7 games where they've taken the ball away 3 times. Yuri, we saw Todd Monken out there at practice getting in on the fumble drill. But this Steelers defense is more than opportunistic with 30 takeaways, 7 games with 3 takeaways or 3 takeaways, one of those coming against the Ravens. Ravens have to protect the ball here. And it is basically the key to the game. We have to keep the possessions even in this. If we turn the ball over once, we got to get one ourselves. Winning the turnover battle, not losing the turnover battle is huge in this game to me, man.
Yeah, no doubt. And I was looking at the Steelers box score, and the Eagles turned the ball over twice as well. So it is something the Steelers they're very well prepared for. They're great at executing it, and to Monken and practice, that's important. You can't make mistakes against this team because more likely than not they'll make you pay. And as we saw in that game, you start off the first drive and Henry fumbled. It's like, man, like here we go again. And it just kind of set the tone for the day, and then Likely gets stripped, and then Peyton Wilson has the interception against Justice Hill on the wheel route. It's like, you gotta live to fight another down against this team. You got to go out there and be able to box in close quarters and kind of just take your 3-yard gains where you get them and not have to, because the Ravens do rely a lot on explosive plays and move the ball. And when it comes to this game, and Kansas City and all the other ones, I think they need to be a little more tactical in the way that they approach their offense and maybe not so explosive.
Okay, well that brings a good segue into the players I have highlighted: Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, 17.2 yards per catch this year. Yuri, just a tremendous number, almost 11 yards per target. He has 7 touchdowns, only 11 in his career. So he's the big play guy in this offense, Rashad Bateman. But the winds, I looked at the weather. It's going to be clear. It looked like a 15-mile-an-hour sustained wind up to 30-mile-an-hour gusts on Saturday. And as you know, winds, and the coaches talk about it, winds can affect the game more than rain or snow or any kind of wetness. So you talked about eliminating the turnovers, but the offense has had some big plays. How do we balance this, and how do you see the pass game playing out this Saturday?
Well, going back to the last week, Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown both had 100 yards receiving. So I definitely think it's a similar formula here where you get Bateman and Flowers, you work the out routes, you work the slants, you work the comebacks, the quick comebacks, the hitches, and kind of get the ball out quick to the playmakers and really let them work downfield. Definitely would like to see the crossing routes, especially against this defense. I think if you can work, it all goes hand in hand really with our offense. You get Henry going and the linebackers start flowing, and then you can kind of work those play action, quick underneath type of plays. And one thing I pointed out as well is that we have not ran after the bye week. I mean, we ran too much of it before the bye week, but the Zay Flowers screen, the Zay Flowers tunnel screen, and they definitely get used a lot. But I think this is the game where you probably you try and block it well, and you try and get him involved underneath, because it's just the way the game's going to go. Hey, if you run a Zay Flowers screen and get 5 yards out of it, you take that. You're muted.
Thank you, Yuri. And you reminded me to bring up the Yankees rankings. I think the family ordered food, so I had some noise out here. The rankings here, the Steelers are very good against the run. So if you're talking about an extension of the run game, those quick passes to Flowers, mix in a couple of them. Like you said, we kind of overdid that at times. Spam Zay Flowers with touches per se. But yeah, to get the ball out there, and especially on that side where they have injured guys who it's either going to be backups or guys that are banged up. Dante Jackson, Deshaun Elliott, test those guys. They're good tacklers. They're good players. But they could, they could get banged up and they could have a hard time. Anybody has a hard time tackling Zay. And even if it's not Zay, a guy like Isaiah Likely, really tough to tackle. Tylan Wallace, really tough guy to tackle. Physical. Bateman, shown the yak ability. So we have guys, Justice Hill, if you want to line them up out there. We have guys that can, we can, even if it's not Zay, that we can screen the ball to over on that side, Yuri.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think this is as much of it is a Henry game. I think Justice Hill is another important piece. We saw last week 60 receiving yards, the kick return, and this is really is the game where he makes his money and he can go out there and pass protect. And let's say Highsmith is the only rusher they have at edge besides Watt that's going to be healthy for this game. You can get Justice Hill out there to pass protect and chip and then release, and it kind of goes hand in hand with looking at it earlier on NFL Pro that the Steelers were 29th in versus the quick pass, and they were a lot better over the intermediate and they were a lot better over the deep. I mean, when's the last time you can think of the Steelers really getting burnt, over the top against us? It's been a while since we've had one of those like free plays, and you got to get these safeties to creep up. You got to get them to, hey, you know what? We're going to load the box. We're going to we're going to run a lot more cover 3. We don't want to leave we don't leave the underneath in the middle of the field, so because we're gashing them so bad to leave it so undermanned. And then that's where you start taking your shots and you start working the the deep ball to Bateman and working those big crossing routes to Flowers and some of the longer developing plays.
And let's face it, every player in this game is really important. There's no minimizing any matchup. But I'm with you that the running backs are especially important in this matchup. Justice Hill led the team with 7 targets last time we played them. So, it lends itself to like Monken seeing the same thing that you're seeing. The same thing the stats suggest that the quick passing game is, a way to get to the Steelers, who are very stingy on level 2 and level 3. To find some stuff underneath with Justice Hill, 7 targets, 4 catches for 28 yards. So I think they busted up a screen in there, and Lamar had to throw it at his feet one time. Steelers are very good all the way around, but I still think that Henry is huge in this game too. I don't want to minimize him. The Ravens falling behind in that game, and of course that famous fourth quarter where we came by and almost tied it at the end, failed on the 2-point conversion. Henry was off the field. We went down, scored a touchdown with Justice Hill, but 13 carries, 65 yards. So a good average in there for Derrick Henry the last time we played the Steelers with the touchdown. Being able to run the ball on this team against the defensive line, which to me is one of the best defensive lines, fronts, fours in football, would be important just to be able to have some balance, because if they can stop the run while they're sitting in soft shells, it's going to be a struggle against this offense. If they're playing cover 2, cover 3, and stopping the run with just those guys, limited but light box, that spells trouble for the Ravens. But if the Ravens can have success in the run game, maybe bring Pat Ricard in and cause them to play more man defense and that kind of thing, then the Ravens can hit them over the top. So the run game, we can't minimize the importance of slugging it out with this team and, keeping them on the field, quite frankly, after that long game they had in Philly where they were on the field for almost 40 minutes.
Yeah, and the time possession of that one was 40-20. So that is coach's back. Yeah, that really is the way to beat the Steelers. You aren't gonna put up 40 and something like that. You're gonna take these long 8, 9, 10-minute drives, touchdown, field goal, really try and hammer away with Henry. And we saw last game, and another theme I'm hoping they're having right now in the castle this week is, hey, we're not holding, we're not false starting at home, not having illegal man downfields, because that really, Henry Henry did have a lot of success, to your point, against the Steelers. It's just so many of them got killed by penalties. It was so
Right.
frustrating just to see it get called back. 7-yard run called back, 10-yard run called back. It's like, come on.
Yeah, and then we were behind the sticks and couldn't run it again next play. So it was hard to get in the rhythm. And John, I want to bring up John's comment to touch on something else. Love these Ravens Steelers game, best rivalry. I'm fired up. Let's whoop them this time, John. It's overdue, bro. Like I just want to beat this team convincingly. I want Lamar to have pretty stats. Like I want it all. I want it all. Maybe that's not feasible, or maybe I'm expecting too much. But I want it all. I want to play well on defense. I want to play well on offense. I want a vintage Ravens game. But the reason I brought up John's comment, Yuri, is because this game was very chippy last time. The chippiest Ravens game of the season. We saw Marlon just, like lose his mind on the field. Never really have seen that. A lot of skirmishes, fights. It's the kind of game where I could see Derrick Henry, especially after his early fumble in the game last time, being a man on the mission. This offensive line, after getting manhandled and complete, the penalties and everything last time, to really come out and try to be a physical team. Like, we cannot get beat up by this Steelers team, Yuri. We have got to hold our own physically, cannot be the little brother. We have to be more of the big brother in this game.
Yeah, no doubt. And to point to one of your guys highlight out there is Patrick Queen. I mean, he's the matchup between him and Henry in the hole, and how that plays out is going to be a big determining factor in this game. And we know that Queen has been a way better coverage player in Pittsburgh than we've seen in the years past in Baltimore. And he's also we've seen a couple of games where he's certainly taken over against the run and made some tackles in the backfield. So it all starts with how the Ravens push to level 2 with the offensive line, how they work downfield, how Linderbaum gets loose on some of those tosses. And I think this is the game to really attack up the middle against Pittsburgh. Hayward is playing at a very high level, but I think with Henry, to your point, they are a lot, but they are 16th versus inside the tackle runs, and Pittsburgh's like top 5, top 7 against the outside the tackle runs. And we saw the last game, the outside tosses kind of weren't working. They got blown up the backfield a couple of times.
Because of PQ. PQ eats on that kind of things, and he knows Lamar's timing. He knows our scheme a little bit. So those outside runs, those slow developing runs, that's when you see the speed really pay off for PQ. Run at him, Yuri. Sorry, I had to interrupt because that was just a great point.
Yeah, no, you're right, and I do think, as much as I am a Patrick Queen fan, I do think this is the game where everyone sees that Derrick Henry stiff arm that they've been so much hoping for against him. As much as it does burn me just a little bit to say it. I think this is the game where you run at the linebackers, you run up the middle, you do dive, you do quick inside zones, you really trying to. I mean, even getting Ricard out there as a fullback lineup in the backfield and going to I and going to pro and just have at it. I mean, I think this is a game where it sucks we don't have Kolar to go out there and put Ricard and Kolar on the field at the same time. But this is a game where you get big, you get physical, and you take your 3 yards.
And Mark can handle it. McCollar's done a great job with it, but Mark can handle that. If we want to get bigger and just put him in line and do some doubles and stuff like that. I want to say hello to Heather. Thank you so much for joining us again, Heather. Really appreciate you. All the comments last week. Q Picks also in there. Jackson 5 versus Pittsburgh would feed families. Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about, Q Picks. I just want a vintage Lamar game, a vintage win in this rivalry. And here at home, this is the perfect time. Now, Yuri, I want to build off of what you just said with the Pat Ricard. You see a Landon Roberts on the screen as they're starting inside linebacker, and he plays more than 50% of the snaps. He is their heavier linebacker. They bring in Peyton Wilson, who we saw cover Justice Hill's stride for stride and come up with an interception of Lamar, another athletic linebacker. So if you bring in Justice Hill, it wouldn't surprise me, Yuri, if Peyton Wilson is like the Justice Hill guy. Whenever Justice Hill is in the game, Peyton Wilson comes off the bench. He is the linebacker. He's going to shadow Justice Hill, match speed for speed. So if you keep Henry out there and you bring Ricard out there, Landon Roberts isn't as dangerous a player as Peyton Wilson. It makes their defense a little bit slower. You could keep like, heavier personnel on this field for the Steelers, which might be an advantage versus the Ravens, heavy versus heavy.
Right, and I mean, it just depends on, and something that's been concerning is the guard play. Is how do those matchups turn out? How does McCarry handle Hayward? Hayward's been certainly someone I'm like, maybe he's older and blah blah blah, but he's been out there and he's been dominating. I mean, he's been as good as he ever has been, and we've seen with McCarr with the holding penalties the last game, Falele not being able to really reach in some of those zone concepts and against the run. It's really, this is a big Linderbaum game. I mentioned earlier working the second level, but being able to help some of the interior offensive linemen block and combo block and then work the level two. And really, I mean, I can definitely see a play where Linderbaum helps on Hayward, moves to Roberts, moves to Fitzpatrick type of thing where Henry's breaking off for 30, 40 yards because, how much Linderbaum helps.
So Yuri, we've covered a lot of ground on offense here. I mean, again, it's like I feel like we could have highlighted any player here, any Stinger player. You talk about Rosengarten, the rookie. You talk about Stanley facing against Alex Highsmith, and they play sides. Highsmith will be over Stanley pretty much all game unless Watt's out and they decide to do something different. But Highsmith didn't play in that first game. You got Nate Herbig, who's having a good year coming off the edge, 4.5 sacks. I'm worried. I'm mostly worried about Hayward. I gotta be honest with you. We saw when McCary gets long and strong, guys like Jordan Davis. That's when those holding penalties come into play. McCary, lack of size can show up, and of course Hayward, like Calais Campbell. I think it's just a great comp. Guys that don't seem to really like their play doesn't dip with age because they're just so long, strong. Their technique is so good. And, Hayward with 8 sacks this year is just an incredible tribute to him. D tackle with 8 sacks at his age. So, yeah, I do worry about the interior offensive line. I feel like this is a big game for Linderbaum to help out. And, I look at Falele against guys like Keanu Benton. I like that matchup because Benton is a strong guy, not the quickest. He's quicker than Falele. But it's the quick guys that I see give Falele the most trouble. And they like to play Hayward and Benton where they are on the screen right here. So, man, final thoughts on this offense. Like, how do we attack this thing? I think it's important to be able to run the ball well. It's important, of course, to not turn it over. We mentioned the Steelers leading the league, 30 takeaways. And I think we're going to have to get some big plays. You mentioned A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, both had over 100 yards for the Eagles against the Steelers defense. We need Bateman to show up and make his big play or two. We need Zay Flowers to be involved in this game. And with the high winds, it might be taking away those opportunities. So we have to hit when it's there. And with the high winds, it might be a between the hash mark game with likely having the size advantage on Beanie Bishop, Andrews, Elliott. I mean, I could talk about this all day, Yuri. So please give us some final thoughts before we kick over on the other side of the ball.
Yeah, I think this definitely is a between the numbers type of game, between the hash marks. And the biggest thing to me is establish the run with Henry, work that play action under center, work the ball getting out quick, and then when you have your shots, take them. Kind of all the points you hit up is you you can't be scared against the Steelers, and I would say that this is a game where if you get in to the 40 or this Pittsburgh 30 and it's 3rd and 7, like, hey, like we're going on 4 down here. Like I think you have to be aggressive against this team. You can't be scared. I know there's probably a lot of stigma in the locker room and kind of around this game. And hey, like we just, we'll take our points. And the point you mentioned with the wind, I know it's just Justin Tucker hasn't really given me any faith to be like them to go make a 15 mile an hour wind going the other way with a 45 or more yarder. It's just what it is at this point. So I would be aggressive. I would go for it in 4th down, and I'd also strike if you can. Touchdowns. I think this is a game where you go for touchdowns. I don't think this game is gonna be won by the normal field goal fest.
I would say that or if it's short, you take your points in a game like this. But absolutely, Yuri. Like overall point, I agree. You're talking about a windy day. You're talking about Tucker struggles. He missed 2 kicks, of course, the first time we played them in Pittsburgh. Um, and just the overall aggressiveness, the trust in your defense against the Steelers offense, which is struggling right now, to where do you want to attempt a 53-yard field goal or do you want to go for it on 4th and 6? You're probably going to want to go for it on 4th and 6 and just take your chances. So, look at the offensive numbers that have been scrolling down below. Don't let this Steelers team get into your head, Coach Harbaugh and the rest of the guys. Play your game. You're ranked high in every single area of offense. Just keep it up, play like it, act like it. That's what I would like to see from this offense. Great analysis there. Appreciate you, Yuri. Let's switch to the other side of the ball and put these Steelers offensive stats. Now, without George Pickens, if he does not play, he's been working off to the side, trying to get back. But, when you're talking about a grade 2 strain is what he has. Usually it takes a lot longer than 3 weeks to get back. So if Pickens is back, Yuri, he's not going to be at 100%. The last 2 games without George Pickens, the Steelers have averaged 127 pass yards a game. 127 pass yards a game. Without Pickens, they just don't have a lot to scare you on offense with weapons. You look at Calvin Austin, who's highlighted. Darnell Washington, Freiermuth are the tight ends, but like their wide receiver depth, Van Jefferson, 100 years old, Skoranek, a little used wide receiver. It's just tough. There's another wide receiver, Scotty Miller, I believe that possession receiver they have. And Mike Williams really surprised me. They traded for him. He only has, I think, 5 catches in the 6 games that he's played. Yeah, 5 catches in 6 games for Mike Williams, who they traded for. So, it's just not a lot to this Pittsburgh offense. It's a George Pickens-driven pass game, just starting with the pass game.
Yeah, and for him to be out would be a massive blow. Calvin Austin can certainly get behind people and get deep, and he does have a lot of speed. But other than that, I mean, you're really isolating it down to Najee Harris, Jalen Warren running the ball, and them kind of doing the same thing where they're chipping away and they're maybe take a shot to Mike Williams, maybe take a shot to Calvin Austin. The running backs out of the backfield in the pass game. I mean, this game definitely feels like it's going to be a war of attrition type of game.
But you watched the Steelers the last 2 weeks. It looked a lot like our offense when Tyler Huntley was in there. All right, yeah, they throw a couple of deep shots, but mainly it's like 5 to 7 yards, hooks and curls. It's just timing, quick passes. Like they do not have a lot of confidence in this receiver. They just don't have the weapons to be able to hurt you deep without George Pickens. And looking at the last game, just to give you an idea, I think this is a great stat. Russell Wilson was 23 of 36 for 205. Pickens, 12 targets, Yuri. Caught 8 passes for 89 yards, but Pickens was targeted 12 times. The running backs were targeted 9 times. Darnell Washington was targeted 4 times, and those were their leaders. So it was basically a bunch of Pickens and a bunch of screen passes and just sporadic little shots to everybody else that really weren't threatening the defense. So it's very, very ball control with this Steelers offense, whether Pickens plays or not. The big difference is Pickens is the big play threat when he's in there to complement that.
Right, and to the the point about the tight ends, Darnell Washington, Pat Freiermuth. Thankfully, the Ravens, it seems like, have figured out the communication issue at linebacker because now we have Roquan Smith in permanently, and then we have Malik Harrison and Chris Board rotating in, and a little bit of Trenton Simpson, and it seems like that issue was fixed. And so hopefully they can continue to guard well over the middle. Darnell Washington is a very, very large human, and he has that big, long wingspan and the ability to use that, and that is an advantage for them. But other than that, like you think about, Najee Harris is a threat out of the backfield in terms of receiving a little bit, and so is Warren, and they both can come in on third down and certainly make a play for you. But if Pickens is out, the offense really does become one-dimensional outside of maybe an occasional Mike Williams deep ball. So
right, and that's what surprises me about Mike Williams not getting any action. You're like, you figure if George Pickens is out, okay, who else do we have on the team that can do what he does? I mean, that's been Mike Williams' career, is downfield, big threat, athletic plays. One thing I do want to say, if Pickens does play, let's just say if Pickens was 100% healthy in this game, this would be the game that I would just switch Brandon Stevens out and have the guts to do it and put Trey White at cornerback, because we saw how well Trey White did against George Pickens. I mean, he made great plays and Pickens still almost caught the ball on him. Like, it was just great versus great at the catch point. But yeah, I would not be afraid to play Trey White. I think it's probably overdue anyway, but Harbaugh's just trying to make him earn it, that type of thing. This would be the game to where if Pickens is in there, I'm throwing Trey White in there every time on George Pickens to have my best catch point guy against him.
Yeah, and those two plays, I mean, those are huge plays. And to your point, that play in the left corner of the end zone where Pickens almost caught it diving over with one hand, that would have been the most insane catch I think I've seen. And we've been blessed with a couple over the past few years.
Yeah.
But that one was pretty close. But yeah, to your point, I agree. No, it's sad because Brandon Stevens has burnt a lot of money this year for himself, for his family, but he just can't get his head around on some of these bigger and physical receivers they're going up, and more times than not, as we've seen, it gets called for pass interference or holding, or we saw against Malik Neighbors, it was a free 20, 30, 40 yards if you went downfield against him. So yeah, I mean, anytime Russell Wilson probably sees 21's head turn and Pickens was healthy, the ball's going there. It's just,
why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he? I mean, yeah, that's strength. Your player's super strength against the other player's clear weakness. And I saw some people, Yuri, complaining about one of the pass interference calls on Brandon Stevens. And yeah, it was a little bit ticky tacky. He did grab the guy, so it was pass interference, but it was a little ticky tacky, maybe uncatchable. I saw some complaints, but the thing is, man, like, for all you baseball fans out there, you remember how good pitchers get the calls that are just outside the strike zone, and pitchers who are wild don't get the pitches called that are like on the corner of the strike zone. So Brandon Stevens has this reputation, Yuri, that I think travels with him. We all expected as Ravens fans be like, oh, please don't be pass interference. Please don't be pass interference. But the officials are ready to call that on him. It's tough to shake a reputation like that when he's done it over and over again, and he's just not looking for the ball at all. So any kind of contact is going to get him called.
Right, and it would. I know the Ravens are about 1,000 penalty yards on the season, and it would not surprise me if Stevens was responsible for at least 300. Like, it's just how it's been. It's just how it's been since week 1, and it's how it's been here in week 14 or week 15 or wherever we're at in the season. I've lost count at this point with all the traveling.
16, yeah.
There you go. So yeah, it's tough. But it's a weakness, and you have to find ways to disguise that. And the way that you pointed out is taking them off the field, and another way is keeping one of those safeties behind him at all times, so he has a little more confidence.
So some funky numbers with this Pittsburgh offense. I think part of it has to do with the quarterback change, but also, as we mentioned in the first matchup versus the Steelers, they're not efficient rushing the ball. There's only one team with a lower yard per carry than them. They're technically ranked 29th because they're tied with 3 other teams at 3.9 yards per carry. So they can't even get to 4 yards per rush. But they are 10th in the league in rush yards. Why, Yuri? They got a good defense and they stick with it. And that's their game. They want to make it ugly. They were going to keep running the ball, even if they're only getting 3.9 yards a pop. Keep running it, short passes, and then the deep shots to Pickens. That's pretty much how this offense works, man. Like, there's nothing flashy about it. It's what's so frustrating about losing to them is that you look at this offense, and John brought up, the payroll differential. Look at the talent on the Steelers defense. It's awesome almost across the board. You look at the talent on offense, and it's not. You got a rookie center, a rookie right guard. You got a former fourth round pick at left tackle. It's just, almost double spent on the defense, as John is mentioning, than their offense.
Right, and to move on to a highlighted player here is Matty BK. You have those two rookies lined up across from him. I mean, he hasn't been as impactful as I thought he would this year. He still has a good amount of sacks, and he's still getting double teams, and he's still making good plays against the run. But against the pass, thought he would certainly turn out a little bit more in the sack department. So um, hoping for this game, the same thing that happened last game, and the fact that the Steelers offense really didn't score that many points. It was just the turnovers that put them in a good position. Um,
6
the
field
the
goals, by the way. They did
right.
not score a touchdown. 6 field goals for the Pittsburgh Steelers in that 18-16 win.
Right, and I think it's going to be very very paramount that the Ravens get pressure from the interior and can push Rush off a spot, because as we've seen this year, especially in that game when Russ gets off a spot, a lot of commotion happens, and he's not able to make those throws he used to be able to make, and in those escape situations. So I think it's
Absolutely.
important.
So would you pin your ears back? I will hold on for one moment. I want to get my buddy Mr. James up. Mr. James, saw your comment in the David Ajabo cut up, and I felt bad. I don't think I brought you up when we did the bye week thing. So Mr. James, it's great to see you, man. Thanks for coming in and checking in. Yuri, didn't want to forget, with Pierce back and Travis Jones back, we saw Matabike again on the edge, and that penalty that he had that I just thought was a little bit boneheaded by Matabike. I mean, he had a clear runway. He knows better. He's gotten called for roughing the quarterback before. But with Jones and Pierce back, gives us more flexibility. I like Matabike lining up on the edge. He looks big, strong, explosive there. He can do those twists and stunts. I think that gives the Ravens more flexibility in the pass rush.
Yeah, Michael Pierce being back is huge. We saw him this last game lead the team in pressures actually with 3. So um, commanding the double teams, being able to clog up the run, and he disgustingly massive human. Like I compared him to the kaiju from the first Pacific Rim, the big one with the big horns and stuff. Like he's huge. Like he's an impressive athlete. The fact that he still moves at that weight, it's just every time I see him, I'm like, good God. But yeah, so it's great to have him back, and hopefully Matty BK and Travis Jones can see less double teams, and Michael Pierce is commanding those double teams, and yeah, they can work those 3D linemen, one edge rusher type of packages in there, um, and kind of if you want to play early downs, you can get Tavius out there, and you got 4 really good run defenders, and stop the run, and then that's where you can move into like the NASCAR package and all those things. So him being back, to your point, gives a lot of flexibility, especially for Matabike, especially for Travis Jones, who we've seen is probably, I don't think it's controversial, probably like the most important defensive lineman we have when he's fully healthy, because the way he's impacted the game.
Really has. And Adafi Owe, 2.5 sacks, I believe, last game against Pittsburgh. He ate in that game. And we saw Owe move over to right tackle and take on Broderick Jones and really give him problems. And Broderick Jones, number 77, their right tackle, was the guy who was on edge the entire game. Just after the whistle stuff, penalties and everything. So if that worked the first time, I would be all for, moving Owe over to his side and trying to get in Broderick Jones's head again and try to get them on tilt. And, be physical with these guys. No dumb penalties, no retaliations. Game's too important for us. But again, just like we talked about on offense, we cannot be the little brother here. I mean, this is what the Steelers do. They will keep running it. They will keep smashing you. They will keep short passing you. They will ugly up this game and try to just be more physical than you. So this Ravens defense and their players have to stand up. I kind of like Malik Harrison in a matchup like this where you don't have to worry as much about, smaller, jukey, quicker players that can give Malik problems. It's a power game, and Malik is all power. So I kind of like Malik Harrison in this matchup as well.
Right. Yeah. This is the game to be physical. I mean, this really is. Like you go out there, and if they punch you in the mouth first hard, swing back. Just don't go out there and then lay down and kind of get they get a couple body shots off, and they're moving the ball. Like don't. This really is the game to continue that bend but don't break type of will. And as we saw that first game where they had 6 field goals, once they get in that red area, you got to tighten up. And You hold this team under 20 points, you're gonna win. I looked at all the scoreboards in the past. Only one time in the past 10 games have the Steelers offense scored 20 points against us. One time. Like
Yeah.
it's as important as it is for our offense. Like I said, you got to score touchdowns. So I think that's the way we get to 20 against them. This defense, you hold them under 20, man. You did your job. So I look forward to it. I think it's be a great game, great matchups across the board. I mean, there's really so many guys who you could highlight. Hamilton setting the tone, Smith, Harrison, the little engine that could. Ardarius out there at safety, being able to make that play against the Giants and then make a really big physical play and make the interception. I thought was important. You got Humphrey, who's certainly been a lot more serious this year and a lot more physical and on edge. And I think
introspective, bro. He's matured a lot, Yuri.
Yeah, no doubt. So we'll see. I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully I just wanted to come out there and I'm looking for a fight. I really am.
It's going to be, dude. This game's going to be intense. I want to bring up our friend Alec again. Ravens need to cover the spread for me to feel good about a win, though. I'll take anything. I'll take anything, Alec. I'm on the after of that comma, the second part of that sentence. Hoping they win by 2 scores. Yeah, man. Hey, I'll take anything. I want to see a Ravens type game. The win most important though, Yuri. But I've stated many times in this show, a vintage Lamar Jackson offensive game. Not just Lamar, but the whole group is really, really what I want to see. And if that happens, we're going to win this game.
Yeah. So just don't let anything get behind you. Continue what you've been doing on defense, and just keep everything in front of you. Working that old D-Peens defense and tackle, wrap up. Don't do any boneheaded penalties. Don't do anything crazy. And keep everything between the hash marks.
Yeah, refrigerator Perry reference. Vince Wilfork, John, I'm sure you remember him as well. But yeah, it is pretty amazing. I don't know the fictional character that you were referring to, Yuri. Sorry, but yeah, Michael Pierce, has his belly and still moves. And remember, Michael Pierce got sent home for being out of shape the year before he left the Ravens. He was probably thinking, "I am in shape, coach. What are you talking about? This is I can run a 4.5 like this. What are you talking about?" Michael Pierce. But yeah, I would like to see a pass rush one time where they just forego 2 edge rushers and just say, look, we're going to put Jones and Pierce in the middle. So you can't double team both of those guys. And we'll put Matabike on the edge as an edge rusher because you can't stop his bull rush from the outside. It's just, I haven't seen anybody successfully do it really. Matabike with a runway on the edge, and those 2 monsters, Travis Jones, Pierce in the middle. They haven't done that yet. I haven't seen that alignment, but I kind of feel, and then Oweh speeding off the other edge. Like, how are you, like, that just seems like a tough thing for a undersized line to deal with, or any kind of line.
No doubt. So they'll have to get creative too. I mean, this Steelers team will probably go out there and put Washington in line and really try and be physical. It's the way they've done it against us.
This is one of the matchups. It kind of made me cringe a couple of times. You know how big of an Ardarius Washington fan I am. How I've been calling for him to take Eddie Jackson's place and get more playing time. Yuri, we've been doing that since like week 1. Finally happened, midway through the season. But Washington versus Washington, you're talking about like a foot in height differential and probably, 100 pounds of weight differential. Darnell Washington, about as big of a tight end as you can, offensive tackle built type of guy. The more Ardarius was covering him last game, I'm like, I had a lot of faith in Ardarius, but this is a little rough out here, buddy. We might have to zone it up a little bit, maybe switch it up, get creative, that kind of thing. Like Van Noy is quick enough to hang with Washington or Malik if you really wanted to do that, and you could just bring Ardarius down and play his zone, play that part of the field. So the Ravens have plenty of options against this Steelers defense. I had a quote from Mike Tomlin. It's a 3-minute thing. I'm just going to go ahead and skip it. But it was his analysis of the defense and where the Ravens defense stood. They basically, he starts off, I guess, his press conference giving his assessment of the other team, and he jumped right into the defense. Notice the Dean Pease influence in this group, Yuri. I think it's been a good influence, a solid thing. Stated before, Dean P is one of my least favorite coordinators the Ravens have ever had. I think Madison was probably my least favorite. We did win a Super Bowl with Dean Pease, but I love the Marvin Lewis and the Mike Nolans and the Chuck Paganos and the Rex Ryans and even Wink. It was fun. Dean Pease, we gave up big leads when he was there, but that's what this team needed, was to settle down. The communication is so much better with Kyle back there, with the Dean Pease influence. Take away the big shots and force teams to execute. One of the reasons I'm high on this team's chances in January is that the defense just looks a lot different. It's being asked to do different things. You still have talented players, and they look like they're finally on the same page. And you pair that with a Lamar Jackson offense and the numbers this offense put up, and I'm confident in this team, man. I think they're better than a 9-5 team.
Yeah, no doubt. To me, you went out, you're cowards, in my opinion. Went out, you're cowards.
What do you mean? I miss you on that.
Went out. Well, you got to win out. I think this team's too good to lose another game. You got to win out. You got to show me that you can beat the Steelers. You can beat, and really do the thing. So that's how I feel about it. And hopefully Saturday I can get proof right.
Actually, Stace, it was Dean Pease in 2012 was the defensive coordinator, and of course Marvin Lewis was the guy on the greatest defense of all time. But Pagano, man, some good defenses under him, and then of course when he left and coached the team from Indianapolis in the blue and white, did pretty well over there with Andrew Luck. So, yeah, man, we have a great history of defensive coordinators. Hopefully Zach Orr, becomes one of those guys. But for this year, I think bringing in Dean Pease was a good move, even though he's, like I said, not one of my favorite defensive coordinators, but it's what we needed. Yuri, here we are, final thoughts time, huge game. Feel like I've said a lot. I just want us to show up, show out. I want this game badly. A lot of times, especially now that I'm approaching 50 years old, it's like, we win, we lose. It doesn't control my mood anymore. I don't let it do that. But this game, I really want to win on Saturday, and it's just in my heart. As Yuri walks away, as I'm about to toss it to him, but I think that the Ravens are definitely the more talented team. I think that if the Ravens play their game, that the Steelers will hang with them, because the Steelers hang with everybody and they like to ugly up the game. But I don't think that the Steelers can flat out come out, throw for 250 yards on this team, run the ball at 4.5, 5 yards a clip on the Ravens, have the Ravens on their heels all day and just like challenge the Ravens to go score for score with them. There's a much better chance that it goes the other way. The Ravens are having some success moving the ball because they have the better team, the superior offense, and the Steelers are the ones trying to muddy it up like they've done against everybody else. And I want to bring up these Steelers games again. You look at their wins, good wins in there, their losses, 2 head-scratching losses for them, really, if you talk about Indy and Dallas, but those teams can get hot and be good as well. And they lost to Philly and Cleveland just like us at Cleveland. So, yeah, Yuri, just going on about this Steelers team and just saying, my final thoughts is that the Steelers cannot – I don't think they have the ability to throw for 250, to run for 4.5 yards per carry, to dictate this game to the Ravens, where the Ravens have to keep up with them offensively. It's a better chance of it going the other way around. I'm confident in this team, despite losing 8 of 9 games to the Steelers, that this is their week. And I think they're 6-point favorites in Vegas for a reason. I think that Vegas makes its money for a reason, that the Ravens should win this game if they play well.
Right. It's just eliminating self-mistakes, eliminating the turnovers, the penalties, the special teams, all the things combined. Just play a sound, clean game, and you'll beat them. Like, you don't have to do anything crazy. You don't have to put up crazy points and the stats that we all want to see, Lamar put up against them just one time just to say, I did it. You just got to go out there and play sound football. And yeah, I don't know if we're doing score predictions, but I'll toss mine out there. Is I'll go Ravens 30, Steelers 20. I think the Ravens win this game by 2 scores to Alex's point. And as much as I know this game is going to come down to some sort of ridiculousness, and I'm just going to say that it doesn't this time, and the Ravens have a very clean game. Henry 110 yards, Lamar 200 passing. All Bateman, Flowers, all involved. Andrews makes a big catch. All the things go right this game for once, and I think the Ravens do come out with this one.
Like it, John saying 27-11. I'm going to get some more comments in here before we wrap it up. What? You're almost 50? My birthday is Saturday. So, yeah, 48 over here hanging in, Stace. And happy birthday Saturday. Man, birthday win for Stacy. Would love to see it for our guy. He's still a young man. 37, will be 38. You wait till another couple of years, though, Stace. You'll start to feel it. Believe me, brother. All of a sudden, stuff will start hurting out of the blue, and you don't even realize why. Like for me, it happened almost like exactly at 40. Mr. James, I agree. This is only game team. We should always win against no matter what our records are. Right. I mean, it's the Steelers, Mr. James. We've lost 8 of 9 against them. It's just a bad taste in my mouth, man. Like I want this game for many other reasons. And he's saying, plus this may be a special teams games where our new punt and kick returner. Yeah, it would be nice to have. I like Desmond King back there, Mr. James. He looked very smooth, very natural. I can see why he came in and took the job right away. It looks like he's been doing the punt returns for a long time. So comfortable. Love him. Hey, we might need Tylan Wallace on offense more this week with Nelson Aguilar out, especially if we're going to run the ball, Yuri. With Wallace's blocking, he could very well be in that slot cracking, crack back blocks on linebackers and DNs. So yeah, it might be a good time to get. What's your feeling on the if Justice Hill did not practice for personal reasons today? He should be back. I'm guessing. Hopefully everything's okay in his life. But if he doesn't go, how do you think they handle the second or third running back? Would it be Rasheen Ali, Keaton Mitchell?
I don't know. I have a bad read on that. Like Keaton Mitchell's not active. I don't know what's going on. Maybe they're just being safe and like, hey, like he didn't look good those first couple of games. We're just gonna hold him for a little bit. And I mean, this is the game really. If Justice Hill is out, two or more weeks of him being on the inactive list, I think this is a game to give another shot and see what he can do as kick returner again, and see what he can do as a receiving back out of the backfield. Ali looks good though. He did look good.
My 2 cents on that is that they say we're a 2 running back team. We're the only reason Ali is active is because of special teams. We want Ali kick returning. Derrick Henry, we're going to give him every touch we can. And Justice Hill is so good on passing downs that we're not replacing him. We want Henry to get all the touches. We're a 2 running back team. You can disagree with that. I would like to see Keaton get a few touches in there, like if it was me. But I think that's what the Ravens are thinking. I think that's what they're thinking. We got Henry, we got Justice Hill, and that's how we want to distribute our touches. So will be interesting to see. So with that, Yuri, glad you're back home, brother, from California, Texas, parts unknown. Now you're back home for the new year, for the holidays. Glad you're joining me. Next week, going to be touch and go. We're going to see if we can get a show going on Monday. So the Ravens, of course, play on Christmas Day, Wednesday. I'm thinking Monday would be the best time. It would give us a couple of days for the show to get some views. Give us a couple of days for Saturday. We will see how that goes. Might be a short show. We'll see what we can do. But with that, I want to say thank you to our football family. Thank you to everybody in here commenting. Love seeing y'all. I appreciate that support. It means a lot. And with that, Yuri, please say good night to the people for me.
Good night.